Hello, besties, and as we roll on today through Minecraft Hell, we're going to also read about roommates from hell. And I hope you all enjoy this, and I hope none of you have those types of roommates. So let's start. Our first story will come from Patty Wisdom Reddit, and the title is "Oh, you can you?" We'll see about that. About 7 years ago, I rented a bedroom in a large shared apartment with strangers. The landlady didn't seem to care about camaraderie of the tenants, but rather that she was just making money. Shocking, I know. Fast forward a few months of comfortable living and I get a new roommate. And from the moment I met him, I knew he was a piece of work. This guy never did any tidying around the house. He's hoard my dishes in his room for weeks on end and would refuse to give them back. He'd smoke in his room and in the morning have a coughing fit in the bathroom for half an hour. Every effing day. The bathroom was next to my bedroom, so I had the misfortune of hearing it loud and clear. He threw up once in the sink after a night of drinking. Oh yeah, real tough guy, and never cleaning it up. He'd leave his bedroom window open in the middle of winter, which caused freezing cold air to fill the apartment. I may have slept through it, had the freezing air and not frozen my nipples into a nip cube. He'd steal our groceries from the cupboard and fridge and now try to deny it. He'd barely bathe, so he smelled bad, and when he did, he'd use our items in the shower. And perhaps the worst part, he spewed so much hogwash that his breath literally smelled like shit, like picked up a turd and savored it. One night, I'm relaxing in the living room and watching some restaurant show, and the chef was puring habanero peppers while wearing a protective hat to toast you. This butchered human that I share residence with came in, sat down, and was all puffed up. That guy's fat pussy, I can eat these things like an apple, no problem. Oh, really? You can you? I mentioned that they are well over 100 times hotter than jalapenos, so he scoffs at me and reassures me over and over that he does it all the time. This was the millionth piece of bullshit I've been served and I was done with it. As luck would have it, a couple of days later, while shopping at the farmer's market, I came across a vendor, Yapp, selling habaneros. The table began to glow and were sung in harmony as a revenge plot came to fruition. I bought a handful, took them home, and patiently waited until Butternut opened his legs again to sing his final words of bullshit before being served with a slice of extremely spicy humble pie. I gave one to him and told him I saw them and knew he liked them so much I couldn't resist doing something nice. The look of terror in his eyes would have been enough to soothe my itch for revenge. However, he wasn't going to go down without a fight. I'll give him an ounce of credit. He's got more balls than brains. So he ate it while waltzing in one bite, chomping, chewing, sweating, crying. For the next 45 minutes, he cried under the kitchen towel with tap water pouring over his face. I asked him if he was done bullshitting me and the housemates, and through his cries, he mumbled the most honest I have ever had. Ah, peace at last. TLDR, horrendous roommate talked shit all the time, said he could eat habaneros like apples. So I called him on it and showed him one and he soured greatly. Lessons were learned that day. Edit 1. Did he turn into a better roommate person? No. He kept his mouth shut a little more often, but as mentioned below, he was still dreadfully inept and being a decent human being. Edit 2. No, I don't live there anymore. I left a couple of months later and moved in with a new friend who was polite, generous, and had an amazing cuddle-loving dog. Oh, we all love dogs. But yeah, the roommate was full of crap, and honestly, he deserved it because you don't say things like, yeah, I can handle that. Because, sometimes your words come back to bite you in the ass. Yeah, you just don't do that. Some of the comments. This is so much better than where I thought it was going. You sneaking pureed habaneros into something he ate. He might have deserved it, but using chaos bullshit and ego against him so that he ate it willingly is so much sweeter. OP replied, the thought had crossed my mind in the sneak attack, but if for some godforsaken reason it hurt him really bad, I needed to be on the record that he ate it willingly. Oh yeah. I'm often worried about people that kind of take the revenge on other people with doing things like, yes, I put seasoning into their food or into my own food because they were still in it. Yeah, you did, but you kinda can still be taken to the car because it's a shared space, so I might have grabbed it blindly. Like, if your opponent, the zip, gets a really good lawyer, no matter what you say, no matter if that's what's your food or if you can claim that you didn't know they had an allergy because they didn't warn you before, they can still take it out on you, kinda. And yeah, it's really dangerous. So, okay, did really smart thing that they use roommate's own ego to trap them. Another comment, but did he leave? Lol. We replied, no. He simmered down a bit, so but he was still hard to live with, so I left. Less than 8 weeks later, another tenant left, and shortly after, the OUB, original douchebag, left, leaving the landlady with just one occupant. I quickly moved on to better things, but my new roommate was kind, funny, polite, and she had an amazing dog, so I won. Yeah, the dog I think was the most selling point, I believe. Another comment. Please tell me you ended the incident with how do you like the apples? My peer replied, oh man, no I didn't, but it's brilliant. Where were you 7 years ago? 7 years ago? Oh. Oh, it's an old story because as I'm reading it, it shows that comments are 8 years ago, and I'm like, 7 years ago? Wouldn't be the like 1 year ago comment? But no, the story was already old. Yeah. And the last commentary I will read today on this story. Well, did everyone clap or not? OP replied, I think I inadvertently scared the others. They didn't clap so much as they backed away slowly, Hilmio. Yeah, it's extremely helpful way to instill fear into your other roommates so they don't pull the same crap as this roommate. But from what we can get from this story, I think all roommates were kind of great. Maybe not the greatest, They were nice. They weren't bad. Anyway, moving on to the next story. Our next story is titled How I Stopped an Ex Roommate from Taking Food Off My Plate. People, if you ever take food off someone's plate, make sure you're actually really close friends or it's your thing. Like, don't just take food off someone's plate like Bella did in Twilight movies. Anyway, let's move on to the story. I used to live with a roommate a few years ago. She was a friend of mine for a very long time and she had some habits I wasn't aware of until I lived with her. One of my least favorite was her eating habits. This girl ate like a pig. She never ever closed her lips while chewing and would always take more than her fair share if there was a shared meal. She would do things like cook steaks over and over in the same pan and leave the grease buttering the pan on the stove in between for days, weeks, and then got mad at my cat for jumping up there to eat some of it. I never ate her cooking because I didn't trust it at all for obvious reasons. The worst habit, though, was taking food off of your plate while you were eating. I resigned to eating in my room or outside just to avoid it. The dog begged less than she did. I asked her to stop so many times and she never listened to me. So this is how I fixed it and also where I get really petty. There are two things I know about this woman. One, she's got the palate of a toddler. Salt and pepper on a dry ass piece of meat, ketchup is spicy, fresh herbs who? Two, she loves mac and cheese. So this is what I did. Unlike her, I live for spicy. I grow some crazy hot peppers every year and just love the feeling of the toasty mouth. I was at the store for some pepper jack cheese. Not any pepper jack though, ghost pepper jack. I brought the bad boy home and made some mac and cheese. I went the whole 9 years with it too, with a crusted top and everything. I waited until just before she got home from work and sat my butt down with a nice plate of my spicy mac and cheese. She walked in to see me eating this stuff, and this time actually asked me if she could have some of it off my plate. I casually told her that I didn't mind at all, but just neglected to inform her that the cheese did indeed have a kick. And for me, I was struggling to eat the stuff with a straight face. She took a big bite of it. Her reaction was unchanged at first, and then it started to twist. I think this really is the only appropriate description of that facial expression. Her face got bright red, and I watched the tears and beads of sweat form on her forehead. As she ran to the kitchen for milk, I casually said, that stuff does have a bit of a kick to it. Probably should have warned you. She came up with many new and creative insults, but she never took food from me again. Do what you gotta do. Phew, okay. Remember the first I said that do it only if you're close friends? Do it only if you have consent, okay? But actually, be careful because you can see Chloe that RP did give permission at the end to take food from her plate. Because mac and cheese is a bit harder to, snatch off the plate, and you might fall into a trap. Okay? But yeah, just ask. Just ask every time because sometimes, yes, asking too much might get annoying, but it's much more annoying if you just do things without no considering anyone's feeling. Anyway, so for some comments, I had a friend who always did that. He'd have his own food and reach for my fries before I even took a bit of my own food. I tried it several times and finally told him the next time he does it, he's getting stopped. He did stopped after I put the fork in the back of his hand. Didn't break the skin, but you can bet it hard. Oof, yeah. I can understand people who you actually threaten them and they don't take it seriously. People, be careful about anyone who is threatening you, who is trying to tell you, I will do that if you don't stop, because a lot of people will actually do that. You have to be careful, at least for your own sake. Okay? Another comment. I have actually stabbed my friend's hand with my fork for taking food off my plate. No blood, just a sharp little pain. One sibling stealing food was a crime, no pardons given. Well, that friend was totally surprised, but never took food off my plate again. There's an upside down smiley face and fork with knife emojis. Opie replied, it seems they would have learned table manners from their parents, LMAO. Another comment. This is one of my favorite parts about being a chill they had, getting to enjoy my sadistic side as I share food with other people. I always warn them it's spicy, but a lot of people have zero experience with legitimately spicy foods. Opie replied, exactly. A cut that built up tolerance for sure. I have ghost peppers, black pepper peppers, tahini, serrano, jalapeno, sweet chili peppers, habaneros, banana, and bell peppers. You ought to come help me with chili peppers, flakes, and hot sauce. Oof, this is one spicy enjoyer. I mean, I have been trying to build up my tolerance and, comparing to the time before I couldn't even eat sushi or ginger. But now I can even just find an even more spicier food. I know it's still a little tolerance, but it's still something. I can understand people who think they can't take on spicy food. Because if they think that, I don't think they ever tasted anything spicy because you know the pain. You don't want to play with fire anymore. Another common. Honestly, her parents probably never told her that this was not okay. If nobody ever bothers to confront her, she will never know. I'd have just told her it was terrible manners and that my dogs had better manners than she did. If she kept at it, I'd punish her the same way I'd punish the dogs if they stole my plate. Smack her in the butt and lock her out of the room until I'm done eating. His smiley face. Always saying, bad girl, no, don't steal food. Oh my god. Opie replied, the dogs did have better table manners, honestly. Okay, that's everything for the story. Guys, important lesson, don't steal food from everyone. I think we as humanity, as a whole, society, are really protected by our food, so treat it with caution. Okay, on to the next story. This story is titled I Discussed My Food Thieving Roommate. And the story is my roommate was stealing my food and not only admitting, but apparently he bragging about it to my other roommates and calling me a pushover. I didn't want to participate in whatever the soldiers were doing, especially since I'm moving away in 2 months, but I do want my own food. Today they were sitting in the kitchen chatting. I came in, took my meatballs from the fridge and licked them one by one while maintaining the eye contact with the zip. And then I licked several other times, bit into my milk. It's a waste of milk, but luckily there wasn't a lot. I took Karen. She looked utterly disgusted. Eventually she asked, are you mental? I calmly replied, I always do this, didn't you know? And left. I don't know if she will stop, but her face of mixed disgust and horror makes it worth it. Edit. Wow, I posted hoping to at least make a bubble of people chuckle my small win, but I got so many funny comments and cool petty revenge stories from you guys. Thanks. I thought a lot of people are suggesting to sabotage her stuff. I don't want to. As long as my food is safe, that's enough. I won't leave any unsealed containers, so. And the current situation is my phone was not stolen today. I will update if something gets stolen again, but if you don't see any more updates, that means I won. Oh my god, actually, it's kind of disciplined behavior. If you wanted the last slice of pizza, you had to lick it. Unluckily for my younger sister, I didn't actually care about that. I'm really not picky enough for that because, I didn't see the big difference between my bacteria and my sister bacteria because when I was like a kid, I saw we had same bacteria because we were siblings. But we had a way to save our food. We just had to put it in on our plate and maybe put it in a way away in the fridge if you wanted to eat it later. Because unlike the other story, we actually had some table manners. But yeah, if it was between strangers, absolutely disgusting. Ew. Some of the comments. Violent quotation marks. Maintaining eye contact. End of quotation marks. Power move from the pushover. Yes, actually, yes, it is. Maintain the eye contact, and it was called the pushover. Why was it called the pushover? I don't know. Another comment. I cooked a meatloaf that was made with freezer-burned hamburgers and dog food. I didn't tell my old roommates till they ate it all. It was glorious. I mean, if it's safe for a dog, I think it would be safe for humans too because have you ever thought about checking if the dog food was like safe for you and not the other way around? It's usually you eating some food and then, quickly googling if you can give it to your really pleading puppy dog eyes dog. Not the other way around. So kind of disgusting, but I don't think that's serious. Another comment. Seriously, so I grew up poor with food insecurities. If you ever affect my food, I will straight up destroy you. Oh yeah, as I said, basic humanity are for some reason really protected of our food. Another commentary. I used to keep a count of all milk at work. I'm a milkaholic. Everybody kept using it without asking, so I put on bright red lipstick in there from the carton. It was absolutely left alone after that. Oh yes, it's absolutely smart way. If you're sure that you can drink it like in a day or two, yeah, I don't think it will spoil soon enough. Someone else, so comment, doesn't everyone link their food to market? Actually, no, not everyone. And the last comment for this story, it's when she replaced me too that you got a worry. Yeah. Okay, the next story. This story is titled Best Friends for a Decade, Roommates for 1 year. Now we don't speak. There's a quick tale here. After moving with my best friend for 10 years, I experienced constant comparisons, humiliation, and boundary violations that escalated into a vicious fight. Even after trying to repair things, their friendship fell apart, and I am left questioning whether this was toxic dynamic or a terrible living situation. I'm writing this because I'm still trying to understand your friendships that turn deeply unhealthy once we live together, and I want honest outside perspectives on what was going on. I was best friends with this girl for about 10 years. I'll call her Anna. She's 2 years older than me, and we met when we were teenagers. Our families were friends, and we became neighbors when they moved from out of state. During the peak of our friendship in our early teens, there was already a subtle imbalance. She had a job before I did, would give me real rights, and often paid for things like food. At the time, I showed my appreciation and didn't think much of it, but in hindsight, it created a dynamic where she took on a caretaker role. I think resentment well built on her end. We drifted at times, but always found our way to each other and still considering each other a core people in each other's lives. She was closest thing I have ever had to a sister, and I have never been that close to a friend before. She would say the same. In early adulthood, we reconnected more seriously and decided to become roommates in LA. I had just started as a transfer student at UCLA. I was looking for a roommate, and she came up with the idea to move to LA with me. Around this time, I was in a toxic relationship, and my dad had just kicked me out of the house. It was really dark time period for me. She was one of the only people I literally had during all of this, and I trusted her deeply. Moving in together felt like safety and support during an incredibly vulnerable period of my life. When we moved in together, I was very intentional about not recreating the old caretaker dynamic from our teenage years. I made a conscious effort to show her how independent I had become, how much I had grown, and I tried to be as helpful as possible with the move and the apartment. Almost immediately after moving in, things began to feel off. She started comparing us in subtle but constant ways. She would comment on how my room was dark and more neutral, while hers was bright and colorful. I went to the gym while she did workout classes or activities, how she bought organic food while I just bought regular groceries. I'm a time B gym girl. I was very fit and healthy but was always busy, so I'd stick to simple, easy methods to stay on track. Whenever I would do homework in our communal areas, Anna would always make comments about how glad she is that she is done with school, glad she doesn't have to deal with it, and how much it sucks that I still had to. None of it was framed as outright insults, but it was constant comments. At one point, I remember I asked her if my arms looked fat, and she validated my feelings by saying they did. In other instances, she'd comment on my posture and would tell me to stand straight. Yeah, oh, looking back, I looked great. I was in the best shape of my life at the time, but couldn't see it for myself. When I tried to get reactions from her, someone I consider my best friend, she would validate my concerns or make those sorts of comments. I internalized it all and believed her because I thought she's just being real or looking out for me. She even commented on the way I relaxed. Every time I'd be watching my favorite TV show, Stonewind, she would make remarks about how she could never watch things like that or how she didn't understand how I could enjoy it. It wasn't a one off comment, it was almost every time. Eventually, it made me feel judged, I mean, in moments where I was just trying to decompress in my own home. Early on, we also met another girl on the same day. After meeting me once, this girl told my friends that she didn't like me. She didn't have a reason, she just said she didn't know why. The dead on hard part, what hurt most was that Anna continued being friends with her anyway and quickly became very close to her. Unexpected discomfort, my friend defined this girl repeatedly and made me feel unreasonable for having an issue. Later, all of Anna's other friends ended up hating the same girl because of how problematic and mean she was. Only then did my friend admit that I had been right, but up until that point, she had consistently invalidated me. Together, these things created an atmosphere where I felt watched, evaluated, and subtly looked down on. I trusted her so much that I kept telling myself it was nothing and that I was just being sensitive, but over time it wore me down. Then the mayor blow up happened. This happened while she was going through a breakup. I was out of town for my close friend's baby shower, and I could tell it bothered her that I was leaving, but it was a prior commitment. I checked in on her consistently throughout the weekend to make sure she was okay. When I came home that weekend, instead of addressing anything directly, she started a fire over something trivial, our cat's food. I was genuinely confused by how intense she was being. That argument escalated quickly and turned vicious. She started off by just saying rude things. She accused me of never changing the cat's litter even though I had often, and she just didn't witness it. Then she began to say I smell bad, my room smells bad, I'm dirty. All of these things were objectively untrue. Utterly, they were things that she had expressed were her own insecurities within herself, so I assumed she was projecting but still didn't know why it was happening. I was sort of in a frozen state of shock. I wasn't saying anything rude back but was confused on what was happening. Then she escalated and went extremely below the belt. She started insulting me in ways I had never experienced from anyone, let alone my best friend. She insulted my acne, my body, brought up my lack of friends, my depression, the darkness around my private areas and inner sides. I'm assuming she noticed this while I was chilling on the couch or something. That my boyfriend doesn't love me. Essentially, everything I have ever confided in her about, and then some addiction things she noticed on her own, apparently. She threw in my face that I was helpless and dependent, which felt especially unfair given how much effort I put into proving the opposite. She then repeatedly accused me of being jealous of her and insecure about things she claimed I envied her for. This accusation confused me deeply. Not to sound rude, but objectively speaking, I would generally be considered more conventionally attractive, and she wasn't some unattainable standard I should be jealous of. She was my best friend, and I always thought she was beautiful and had a great spirit, but Sarah was never anything I wanted to be or compete with. Just because I had abandoned her about my own body image issues didn't mean I wanted to look like her. I just trusted her. I ended up speaking up for myself and asked her what I had done to deserve the level of cruelty. We had a really ugly back and forth, and things only got worse. She then tried to expose my secrets to my mom over the phone, saying she believed my mom didn't know, as a way to hurt me. At that point, we still had about 9 months left on the lease. After that blow up, I tried to make things better. I was young, naive, and just wanted to enjoy my first apartment in LA. I knew we were stuck living together for months, and I genuinely wanted to communicate, repair things, and coexist peacefully. Every attempt at communication was met with deflection, finger pointing, and the same accusations that I was jealous of her. It felt impossible to resolve anything because nothing was ever her responsibility. At one point, after some time had passed, we tried to be friendly again, but it quickly turned into a different kind of disrespect. She started crossing practical boundaries. She wore my expensive dresses that still had tags on them without asking. She would go out with friends and break game in front of me without extending any invite, knowing it that be just home alone without plans over the weekend. She even had a random man she had just met live with us for almost 2 months without asking me. And even after I told her I was uncomfortable, she continued letting him stay. I started to feel like a sticker on or hard ass for objecting to these things, and she also validates his feelings by calling me strict or controlling. I felt like my feelings were constantly dismissed and disrespected. The remaining months were filled with petty fights, tension, and arguments over small things that felt like symptoms of something much deeper. By the end, I was emotionally wrecked. Our funny conversation ended with me telling her how terrible of a person I felt she was, how badly she had traumatized me, and how she needs to seek therapy. Words I never imagined saying to someone I once loved like a family. We haven't spoken since the lease ended in 2023. Never received an apology or heard from her again. I moved into my own place in LA, and she moved in with another girl. As we're all roommates from that point on. On paper, it's over, but the pact has lingered. It felt like psychological warfare. I still have random self esteem issues. I second guess myself whenever I feel hurt. I still feel the residue of being compared, invalidated, and emotionally dismantled by someone I trusted completely. I never thought she and I wouldn't be friends one day, and I still find myself blaming myself for a lot. Mainly because I never took her as someone that was so cruel. Like maybe I was subconsciously jealous of her, or maybe I was boring, depressed roommate when she saw she was signing up for more. Because otherwise, where would all this animosity come from? I still find myself checking on her social media through the years. It's difficult because her life seems great while I'm still here, still struggling to wrap my head around all of this. It feels like this drama ruined my first year at UCLA, and I spent the second year dealing with the aftermath. It gave me so much to unpack in my life that I didn't need to before a while. She just seemingly moved on so quickly after with zero remorse. 10 years went down the drain. I'm not claiming I was perfect. I know I had flaws and didn't handle everything ideally. If anyone has experienced something similar, especially with a long term friend turned roommate, I'd really appreciate your insight. Wow, this is so much more serious than the previous stories we read about just stealing some food from roommates. Oh my god. Okay, best friends for a decade. I'm sorry, girl, but I think it's more like friends for a cake. Oh my god. Um, because best friends they can get annoyed with each other, but they kind of just siblings with each other. You don't feel like annoyed by your best friends. If you're annoyed by your best friends or they're annoyed with you, you're not best friends anymore. You're just friends or quantities or just packages used that can quiet and tie themselves. Okay, roommates for 1 year. So there was mentioned in the stories that they had 9 months in the leaves left after their big fight. All of this happened in 1 month. 1 month was enough for her friend, her friend, um, to just get angry enough and unleash all this fury on her younger friend. Oh my god. I can get behind the feeling like you always help someone and you kind of get sick of someone being dependent on you because you want to have a friend. You don't want to be just a caretaker for someone. But if people mentions that they did so much work to not be dependent, to be actually independent, then I think it would have been some, big difference or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, I know a story. It's actually hits someone really close to home because I had a friend. We were living in the dorm. She was just planning to join us, and there was our new friend who had a room open, the free space while I didn't have. So my friend moved to our new friend, and our friendship with that new friend soared up, really, like dried out really fast because she was great on paper. She was great as a casual, acquaintance, sometimes to meet up, to just talk and giggle. But as a roommate, someone you live with, someone you like see daily, she was awful. Well, not awful, but she would lie. She was untidy. It's a shock how people change when you start living in them, because wow. Um, I feel bad for this person because of course, as of I'm reading this happened like 4 months ago. Maybe it will happen a lot late earlier, but the post was like made 4 months ago, and oh my god, just 8, 9 months with someone that dislikes you or hates you. Wow. Okay, for some of the comments. She liked you when you were a teenager because she was better than you in job, car, carry. You meeting has an equal change in dynamic. Sorry. Oh yeah, actually I know some people like to help people that are below them, near them, so they look good in comparison. It's not good for anyone because like the person below them feels really insecure, and people who rely on those people to make themselves look better don't actually feel better because they're still on the same level. They just have someone to compare themselves to. Another comment. You were friends because you went to your own places every day. Now that you man and mesh yourself as roommates, there's no away time. This story is all this time. Rooming with friends is a good way to kill the friendship. Well, not always, but yeah, there were times where I got like really annoyed with my friends, and some time away from them really helped. Not in a way because my friends were like annoying in general or they were bad friends, but sometimes they're just so like too much of someone. You just need a break from them. There's a book recommendation from the comment. First is book about woman friendship. It really helped me after my best friend forever of 2 decades ghosted me. The book title is What Did I Do Wrong? What to Do When You Don't Know Why the Friendship is Over. And there's a link. Anyone curious, I will be linking this story in the description so you can try to look for the comment in the story. You will find it easily. There are 26 comments in general, so there's a bit of discourse here. Comment: Go see a psychiatrist. OP replied, as in, I'm crazy, or the commentary replied, no, but you need therapy and possible medication. If the situation affected you that deeply, still check her Instagram. You probably need to unpack it with a therapist. It will also help if you're still feeling depressed or anxious. Perfectly normal after what happened to you. Don't let it ruin any more of your life. I can understand why OP thought as in I'm crazy because psychiatrist is there's a difference between medication and just general therapy because some stereotypes means like medication means you're crazy. It's not, it does not mean, but sometimes your brain just doesn't make the chemicals it needs to calm itself, and the meds can help with that. But I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a medical expert, so don't trust me on my word on that. And one of the commenters should have just beat the hell out of one another and went back to being friends. It was downward because just punching and tearing each other's hairs out will not help. It actually just worsens the situation. OP replied to that. There actually was a physical altercation, but they did not end up with us being friends. Yeah, no, if that girl was already jealous of her, I think she would have lost the fight and would also be jealous of that. So, anyway, that's the end of the story. Again, be mindful, be really careful who your roommate is. Sometimes I understand that there's only one friend that they can actually invite, or who has the opportunity, or who has the money to, pay the rent with you. But be careful. Sometimes you can see a smiley face, and behind the closed doors, they like to play with knives, for example, yeah? Or maybe they steal your food, or maybe they're untidy. You can be best friends with everyone, but you can live with everyone. So, on to the next story. This story is titled Housemate is Inconsiderate and Aggressive Gets Catlocked by Landlord. I live in a house with separate apartments and shared bathrooms. Living in such a situation without annoying each other should be easy as long as you follow two simple rules. Keep the shower facility clean and don't hog them forever. This, however, seems to be problematic for one housemate. Let's call him 30. 30 seems to have a problem with both rules. He finds a simple way to keep his own place clean. Instead of keeping his garbage in his own room, he just dumps it everywhere else. He makes a big pile in the kitchen, leaves some of it in the hallway, and starts putting it in front of other people's doors. Also, 30 likes to take long showers, and I mean long, up to an hour. Most of the time, I manage to plan my day around that to be a nice housemate. However, rarely is there a situation where after 30 minutes of waiting, I really need to use the bathroom. This happened last week again, so after waiting long enough, I knocked at the door. I wasn't being aggressive, nor did I say anything, just two stern knocks to tell him that other people need to shower too. That was enough for him to storm out of the bathroom, after which he had a loud conversation with his girlfriend, which I overheard. Would have to be deaf not to hear it. Apparently, he thinks I'm very antisocial, that I am wanting to use the shared shower, making him angry and knows that next time I do something like that again, he would punch me in the face. I've had enough. The revenge. Charlie is quite a player, bringing in a new girlfriend every month. This usually also stayed his place for a week or two until they inevitably start arguing and break up. So I found our landlord telling him about his behavior, but it wasn't anything new to him. However, I also just happened to mention his girlfriend's habits of staying at his place for weeks. Everybody in our house has the same contract, in which it clearly says that you cannot have anybody else living in your place. The landlord gets furious and comes over to have a little chat with Starling. Now he is not allowed to have any girls over and most likely must pay the water bills that he and his girlfriends have inflated. TLDR, housemate is a slob and hogs the shower for hours, talks slowly about wanting to punch me for no good reasons. I tell the landlord that my housemate is violating his contract. Housemate may not have any girls over anymore. Yes, make stupid choices, get stupid prices. I mean, he may have wanted to sound cool to his new girlfriend, or maybe he just is the type of guy who just resorts to violence, or someone who says he will resort to violence but never actually does that. I don't really know, because this is really a short story, but I mean, he's just a mean person, someone who is not socially adapted. Or maybe someone really stupid and unhappy because you're living in the rented room with a lot of different people. So it's kinda I can get behind the feeling of that guy because everyone to live wants to live by their own rules, but you're sharing the space with other people. You have to accommodate to them also. Anyway, for the comments. There's not a lot of them, but here's one. That's not even the revenge yet. They're just forcing him to abide by the terms of his rental contract, which he's been violating. I think the next step is to turn off the hot water while he's in the shower if you have access to the control for it and pick up all his garbage and dump it in front of his door. OP, if it's any consolation, I have been messing with him before to try to drive the message home. It didn't work nor did it satisfy me, so I didn't include it in the story. Our water boiler is kind of crap, so meaning that if someone else uses the hot water while someone is under the shower will lose pressure and turn cold in an instant. Sometimes when he was in the shower and took long, I would go and do the dishes. Oh yeah. I had something similar in the dorms when I lived there. Whenever someone was using the kitchen sink, like to turn on the water pressure in the bathroom sinks it would lower a lot, But we didn't have hot water anyway, so we didn't really care about it much because come on, you don't really need that much person in the sink in the bathroom. Shower, yes, the sink, nah. Anyway, let's hop on to the next story. I hope it will be a lot more interesting than this one. And our last story for today will be very short. The title is Roommate was stealing my marked leftovers, made a chocolate cake with habanero peppers, lapped it with my name, and wrecked his world. Title is pretty straightforward, but I will elaborate. My old college roommate didn't know how to cook or do dishes and didn't go food shopping much. This led to him eating my food, especially my leftovers, as those were prepared meals. I would use my leftovers to meal prep for the week and told him to stop as it was expensive as well as inconvenient. The behavior did not stop and he actually seemed to be eating more of my food out of spite. To punish him, I baked a chocolate cake with habanero peppers and mixed the frozen with wasabi. Oh my god. I love it with my name and both do not eat and wait. This guy has a very low tolerance for spicy food, so I thought that he would take one bite quickly, realize the error of his ways. About 2 days later, him and a couple of his friends got really drunk while I was at work and decided to get thick into my food. Somehow they ate about a third of it before realizing, and when they inevitably went to throw up from over drinking and eating the spicy food, got hit by the cake a second time. Don't know for sure, but it couldn't have felt good coming out the back end. When he asked me why I made this monstrosity, I told him I found a chocolate habanero recipe online and that I wanted to try. He stopped eating my cooking after that. Oh my god. Actually, spicy chocolate cake, it's wow, I want to try it. I wouldn't try wasabi frosting because well wasabi is it's not something I would want on my cake, even just on any sweet treat. But chocolate spicy cake, that sounds interesting. And yeah, don't eat anyone's food. Everyone is protective of their own food. Or at least contribute to it, you know? Some of the comments. You told him to stop and explain why, and he didn't. This is absolutely justified. Well done. Someone replied to this comment. Actually, kind of legal area if they could throw it was made to poison, so definitely in OP's best interest to play dumb and innocent card. But yeah, I have that roommate got what he deserved. And the reason I say to play dumb is because no, it's not illegal to create spicy food for yourself. It is illegal, however, to decide to deceive someone else into consuming something that will produce unexpected, adverse, and unpleasant effects. The intent is what matters here, not the fact that it's just spicy and not saying it. And 2. Some people are making the but he loved it do not eat argument, just like an ultra spicy sign doesn't give you carte blanche to set up landmines on your property. A do not eat sign doesn't allow you leave wasabi frosted cake for your remain to find. Yeah, some people might find a good lawyer and that lawyer might win. Against the case that I made the food for myself, if you really never made it before. Anyway, another comment. Milk stealing was a major annoyance at university. It was in halls of residence and people would constantly pilfer your milk from the shared fridge just to put in their coffee. I took to leveling my lick biological experiment do not touch and put in a drop or two of green food coloring in each new opened carton. Not sure if anyone was really fooled, but nobody seemed to touch it anymore after I started doing that. Oh, and was milk stealing. This actually reminds me of something. Back at school, it wasn't yet normalized to bring your own water bottle, but the few kids who did, they were almost always out of water because everyone wanted a sip. And I also brought water because my mom made me to. And I was annoyed that everyone asked me to drink my water because it would run out really fast and wasn't left for me. But there was a thing. I started adding chlorophyll. If anyone doesn't know, it's like plant juice. In its green, it colors your water green, and mine was mint flavored. And most of my classmates they were smokers. I don't remember if it was vapes or cigarettes still. I told them that the stuff I drink doesn't mix well with their cigarettes, and they never asked me again. Later on, I told my close friends that also smoked that this stuff wasn't actually poisonous for them. It was actually good for them. It would actually help them, and they were like, "What? You're for real?" I looked at them And I'm like, you seriously believe that? Anyway, you can really fool a lot of people with just a few colored drinks or maybe a few colored, the food coloring. Another comment. I put the cheese of the leftover pizza, put down ghost pepper sauce, and put the cheese back on. The side effect was bad. Was had. Oh my god. It's actually this is actually a really diabolical. I would fear him. Someone Another comment. To punish him, I baked a chocolate cake with habanero peppers and mixed it with the frosting with wasabi. I could actually see a habanero chocolate cake working culinary. Not so much the wasabi frosting so. Opie replied, I actually found the recipe for that part of mine. The frosting was my own invention that was pretty disgusting. I tried a bit of the cake and it wasn't awful, but I'd have to use like an eighth as much of habanero to be good in my opinion. Yeah, too much spice sometimes is bad because you can't feel anything outside of spice anymore. But a lot of people enjoy it. And the last comment for the story sounds like it's time to move. And I'll be replied, this was a few years ago, moved about 2 months after this incident. Yeah, I don't know if someone should move out just because their roommate are stealing all of their food. But maybe it's just my personal thing because I don't ever have much in my fridge. So it's for later and for the times when I actually will have a roommate because I still don't have one. Anyway, cuties, that will be all for today. I hope you enjoy these stories. I hope you don't ever have that kind of the roommates that we read today. I hope you all stay best friends with your best friends, and even if you live together, you actually have a really good relationship out of it. Anyway, stay hydrated, stay safe, and I hope to see you all on our next video. Bye!